Hi, everybody. I wanted to start a new playlist series for Song Tripping to log my listening habits. So I'll call this listening log or something like that. But here are some records and streams I've been listening to in the last week or two. And I wanted to share these with you. We'll start with a vinyl selection. And this is Blues Magoos, Gulf Coast Bound. I found this at the Rock Shop in King of Prussia Mall in suburban Philadelphia. And this was I'd never seen this album before. It was in the bargain bins. And this was, the Blues Magoos, of course, were more renowned for their 60s psychedelic albums, like Psychedelic Lollipop and this one, Electric Comic Book. But by the time they got to Gulf Coast Bound, which I think might be their third album, their lineup had changed and their sound had completely changed. This was released somewhere around 1970, if I remember correctly, and it's on ABC Records. And the closest analog I could give you for the sound of this album is not psychedelic at all. It's more of it almost sounds like early Steely Dan, like, sort of Can't Buy Thrill, and they were on ABC too. This sounds like a little bit like that style, and so if you're expecting something more of 60s psychedelic, you're going to be disappointed with this album. But I didn't come in with any expectations, and I thought actually it was a pretty good listen. Like the lineup, their musician lineup had changed significantly. I think they might have been using a lot of studio musicians, but things are well played. There's sort of like extended jams, and like it grooves pretty nicely. But yeah, I thought it was an interesting discovery, and I didn't pay a lot for it. Gulf Coast Bound by Blues Magoos. Everything else I listened to recently has just been part of the collection. So here's a CD, Talk Talk, Laughing Stock. And boy, this is an interesting album. I mean, I'm not like a huge talk expert by any means, but a friend had recommended this band to me. I sort of like early on they just sounded sort of like pop new wave, but by the time they were getting to albums like this is much more in like art rock territory, like lots of like atmospheric songs. Like I just I'm glad I held on to this CD. It's like sometimes you're in the mood for it, and it's really good. Was listening to some jazz as well, and let me pull these out. So these are one of these 5 packs, Chuck Mangione 5 original albums. Feel So Good was like a real early record that I owned, so I have lots of nostalgic attachment to that. But I was listening to some of the other albums in this set, like Chase the Clouds Away. They come in these mini LP sleeves. And Main Squeeze. This is just vintage 70s Chuck Mangione. And then Fun and Games, which is getting you into the 80s. So these were just like pleasant listens. I like Chuck. He's good. Also, when I was on the treadmill, I was listening to my Beatles box set, Magical Mystery Tour. I hadn't listened to this in a while. This version from the black box set behind me is nothing wrong with it. I think it sounds fantastic. And what a great album. I mean, it doesn't get a lot of love, I think, for some reason, maybe because it's a bit of a hodgepodge. But I feel like this was the last Beatles album where sort of, well, how can I put it? Things really changed after this. Like, we go on to the White Album after this, and their sound completely changes. But this is just a fantastic set of songs. It's got Strawberry Fields Forever, one of my all-time favorite Beatles songs. The Paul McCartney material is awesome. I Am the Walrus. How could you leave that one out? So I'm wondering why this one hasn't been reissued in a remixed version. They skipped over Magical Mystery Tour. If anybody has an explanation for that, let me know in the comments. And then I've been slowly working my way through the Richard and Linda Thompson box set This is all of their albums with a lot of extras, and it's been a while since I've listened to it, and it's just wonderful stuff. Things are remastered on it. Now, I will add that when I first got that, I got it when it came out. Like, there was one defective disc, so I wrote to the company and asked for replacement, and they actually sent me the entire set of CDs. Even though only one was defective, they sent them all to me. So I've got an extra set here. So this is the one I've been listening to. Here's the hype sticker that I saved off the shrink wrap from the original box set. Hard Luck Stories. What can you say about Richard and Linda Thompson? They're just amazing British folk artists. And I think that's been it. Oh, yeah, one more thing. I'm going to switch gears and get to classical music. Okay, here it is. I lost it. So this album, Brahms Symphony No. 4, Bernard Haitink and the London Symphony Orchestra. This came out somewhere around 2004 or so, or 2005. It's an SACD, hybrid multi-channel, and I got this around the time when it came out. I think I might have still been a member of the BMG Music Club. That may have been where I got it. But anyway, I'm a huge Brahms fan. I'm not by no means an expert in classical music, but lately I've been listening to more and more classical, like the last several years. It's just been like very satisfying for me. But from the very first listen of this album, Bernard Haitink, I had high expectations for this, and I think I just was disappointed. Like, I don't know what it is about this. Like, the sonics are fine, good SACD quality. The hall sounds pretty dry to me, but it's more of the performance. Like, it's just lackluster. It's flaccid. It's sort of flat. It's dull. There's a lifelessness to it that I always, every time I listen to this performance, I want more from it. And when I compare it to other versions of Brahms 4 that I've been exposed to, like the two Brahms 4s on the Bruno Walter box set, or I think I've heard Leonard Bernstein's version with New York Philharmonic, one of them, and one or two versions by Eugene Ormandy on the that I've streamed on Tidal. And I just this morning listened to George Zell and the Cleveland Orchestra streamed on Tidal as well. And all those versions, and there's a more recent version, Jonick, is that how you pronounce the conductor's name, with the Pittsburgh Symphony? I streamed that on Tidal. All those sound like so much better than this version. It's amazing how striking the differences can be with classical performances, but like they're more vibrant. Like that Pittsburgh Symphony one is just super energetic. The George Zell was like almost perfect sounding. I was like really blown away by that. The Eugene Ormandy was really impressive, and I love Bruno Walter. Like, so those two versions that he did, mono and then later stereo with the Columbia Symphony Orchestra, they're wonderful as well. But this one is like sort of so disappointing that I'm actually probably going to trade this one in for store credit, because it just, I gave it a chance. I've listened to this album maybe 4, 5, 6 times, and I just don't think it does it for me. What's your reaction to this? Am I missing out on something? Like, I don't know. But there is another, I think there's a Bernard Haitink I have where he does Shostakovich's 5th Symphony, and that's much better. Like, that was like much more impressive. But just something to me went flat with this version. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. That's just a few things that I've been listening to. And why don't you share what you've been listening to lately too. And I hope you check back with Song Tripping soon. Thanks very much.